Welcome to QuickSpeak English, the podcast that helps you master English vocabulary and conversation skills. Today, we're going to explore a very fascinating topic. Love. We're going to go beyond, the simple definitions, and we're going to really expand our understanding of love, all its forms. So get ready to learn new vocabulary, idioms, all related to emotions and relationships. We're going to help you speak about love like a native speaker.
Yeah. It's really interesting how we use that word love for so many different things, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ancient Greeks recognized this centuries ago.
Hmm.
They identified 8 distinct types of love. Imagine they had like this whole emotional vocabulary that we've kind of forgotten today.
8 types of love. That is definitely more nuanced than how we think about love.
Right.
Why is it important to know these different types? Does it really matter if we call something eros or just, just love?
Well, think of it like this. If you were trying to describe a beautiful sunset, but you could only use the word red, you could say the sky is red, but that wouldn't capture the full range of colors, the subtle shades, the way the light changes.
Yeah.
Similarly, understanding these different types of love allow us to really express the specific qualities of our relationships and experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's explore these Greek love types. Can you give us an example?
Sure, let's start with Eros.
Okay.
This is that passionate romantic love, the love that's often portrayed in movies and songs,
Yeah.
filled with intense longing and that heart-fluttering feeling of excitement.
Oh yeah, the butterflies in your stomach.
Exactly.
Okay, so Eros is passionate love. What are some of the other types?
Another one is philia.
Philia.
So think about the bond you have with your closest friends,
Hmm.
the ones who really understand you, share your values. This type of love is characterized by loyalty, camaraderie, and that really deep sense of connection that comes from shared experiences.
And so philia is about that strong connection built on trust, mutual understanding. It's not just romantic, right?
Right, exactly.
It makes me think of that saying, friends are the family you choose.
Exactly. And then there's agape. Agape. This is profound. It's often described as selfless, unconditional love.
Okay.
This is about giving without expecting anything in return. It's showing compassion, kindness without any ulterior motives.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
But it sounds like, kind of an ideal, like something we maybe strive for,
Yeah.
but, don't always achieve.
Right. It can be aspirational.
Yeah.
Think of the love that a parent has for their child, or even the love that some people feel for humanity as a whole. It's this powerful force that motivates us to act with kindness and generosity.
Okay, so we explored eros, the passionate love, philia, the love between friends, and agape, the selfless love. Are the other 5 types similar?
Well, each type has its own unique flavor.
Okay.
So, for example, storge represents the natural affection that we feel for family members,
Okay.
particularly between parents and children. It's about that innate sense of belonging, the protectiveness we have towards our loved ones.
That makes sense. Family bonds are some of the strongest we experience, yeah.
Exactly.
What about the other types?
Okay, well, ludus captures that playful, flirtatious side of love.
Okay.
So think of the early stages of attraction, like the excitement of getting to know someone new.
There's pragma, which is a more mature and enduring form of love that develops over time.
It's about building a life together, making compromises, working towards shared goals, choosing each other day after day.
So pragma is about that deep sense of partnership, like weathering storms together, continuing to choose each other,
Yes.
even when things get tough.
Yes. It highlights that love isn't always, about these grand gestures or passionate declarations.
Yeah.
It's often about that quiet understanding, the unwavering commitment that grows over time.
That's a really valuable insight, especially in a world where we're constantly bombarded with these images of idealized, passionate love. So what about the final 2 types?
Okay, the next one can be a bit tricky. It's called mania.
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 Okay.
It's characterized by obsessive and possessive feelings. It can be driven by insecurity, fear of loss, and a need for control.
Okay.
So it can be a potentially unhealthy form of love.
So mania is more about, that intense attachment, the possessiveness, not necessarily genuine care or respect for the other person.
Right, exactly. And finally, we have philassia, which is all about self-love.
Okay.
The ancient Greeks recognized that self-love could have both healthy and unhealthy expressions.
Self-love is such a popular topic these days.
It is.
What did the Greeks think about it?
Well, they saw healthy self-love as having a good sense of self-worth, taking care of yourself both physically and emotionally,
Yeah.
and setting boundaries to protect your well-being. But they also cautioned against excessive self-focus, which can lead to narcissism and a lack of empathy for others.
So it sounds like finding that balance is really key.
Exactly.
Self-love is about valuing yourself, but also being mindful of others' needs.
Exactly. It's about cultivating this healthy relationship with yourself so you can show up authentically in your relationships with others.
Mm.
Now, speaking of understanding love, there's another fascinating framework. Have you ever heard of the triangular theory of love?
I have, but I'm sure many of our listeners are curious. Can you tell us about it?
Okay, so this theory was developed by Robert Sternberg, and he proposes that love has three main components: intimacy, passion, and commitment.
Okay, let's unpack those terms a bit. What do we mean by intimacy?
Well, intimacy is about emotional closeness.
Okay.
That feeling like you can really be yourself with someone,
Yeah.
share your deepest thoughts, your feelings without fear of judgment.
Mm.
It's about that mutual understanding, vulnerability, a sense of connection that goes beyond just the superficial.
So it's about that deep sense of knowing and being known.
Exactly. Then you have passion. And passion encompasses the intense feelings, the excitement, the attraction that we often associate with romantic love.
Yeah.
It's about the spark of desire, the physical and emotional intensity that draws people together.
It's that can't keep your hands off each other kind of energy.
Yeah.
The excitement that we talked about earlier with Ludus.
Exactly. And finally, there's commitment, which is about that conscious decision to be with someone, to work through challenges together, and to build a future with them. It's about choosing each other every day, even when it's not easy.
So it's about making that conscious effort to nurture the relationship, to stay connected, and prioritize that bond.
Yes.
Even when life gets busy.
Exactly. And the interesting thing about this triangular theory of love is that different types of love are formed by combining these three components in different ways.
So it's like a recipe, to create different flavors of love.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
For example, if you have a lot of intimacy and passion but not much commitment,
Okay.
you might experience what Sternberg calls romantic love.
Mm.
It's that intense, exciting phase of a relationship where you're, deeply connected, you're infatuated, but you haven't necessarily made a long-term commitment.
That makes sense. It's like the honeymoon phase, right?
And then there's companionate love. This is characterized by high levels of intimacy and commitment,
Okay.
but perhaps less passion. This is often the type of love that develops in long-term relationships.
Yeah.
Where the initial intensity might have, faded a bit,
Yeah.
but it's replaced by this deep sense of trust, friendship, shared history.
So it's like the love between best friends.
Right.
Or a couple that's been together for many years where the passion has evolved into something maybe more comfortable and familiar, but the love is still strong.
Exactly. And then there's fatuous love.
Fatuous love.
Which is high in passion and commitment, but low in intimacy.
All right.
This might be the case in those whirlwind romances.
Okay.
Where people quickly fall head over heels,
Yeah.
make a serious commitment without really knowing each other deeply.
It's like the classic love at first sight scenario where the attraction is intense, the commitment is there, but that foundation of intimacy might be missing.
Exactly. And then, according to Sternberg, the ideal type of love is consummate love.
Consummate love.
Which involves a balance of all three components:
Hmm.
intimacy, passion, and commitment.
Okay.
It's like the holy grail of love, something that many people strive for.
It sounds like consummate love is something that takes time and effort to cultivate.
Right.
Nurturing each of those components and finding that sweet spot where they all come together.
Exactly. It's about continuously investing in the relationship, communicating openly, staying curious about each other.
Yeah.
Finding ways to keep the spark alive.
Yeah.
While also, deepening your connection, your commitment.
It's inspiring to think that even though love can be complex, it's something that we can actively shape and nurture.
Yes.
But love isn't just about romantic relationships, right? It exists in so many other forms, like the love we have for family, friends, even ourselves.
You're absolutely right. Love really is this multifaceted emotion that kind of permeates every aspect of our lives. And speaking of the different ways love is expressed, let's delve into how love manifests across different cultures.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Love seems like such a universal emotion.
Yes.
But I know that how we express it can vary widely depending on where we come from.
Exactly. For instance, in some cultures, public displays of affection are very common, while in other cultures, they're considered inappropriate or even taboo.
And even the idea of romantic love being the foundation for marriage isn't universal, is it?
Exactly. In many cultures, family obligations and social expectations play a much bigger role, in mate selection. Romantic love might develop later, or it might not even be the primary factor in choosing a life partner.
So tell us about some of the unique ways love is expressed around the world. What are some examples?
Okay. Well, in Japan, for example, love is often expressed through acts of service, like preparing a special meal for your loved one. They have a beautiful tradition of making elaborate bento boxes, which are like these little works of art, to show their affection.
I've seen those bento boxes. They're
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
So detailed, so thoughtfully made.
Yeah.
It really does show a level of care and attention that goes beyond words.
Exactly. It's about communicating love through actions rather than just words.
Okay.
And in some African cultures, like the Zulu people, they have this tradition of creating beaded love letters called ukus.
Ugukas?
Ukus.
Yeah.
These are intricate, colorful pieces of beadwork that convey messages of love and affection.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
It sounds so beautiful and meaningful.
Yeah.
It's like a physical manifestation of your love and commitment,
Yeah.
something you can hold and cherish.
Precisely. And in India, while arranged marriages are still common, the concept of romantic love is becoming increasingly important, especially among younger generations.
Yeah.
They might not have the same freedom to choose their partners like we do in Western cultures, but that doesn't mean they don't experience passionate love.
Yeah, it's a reminder that love can blossom even within those different cultural contexts.
No.
The human heart seeks connection regardless of societal norms or expectations.
Absolutely. And speaking of heart-seeking connection, let's not forget about the importance of self-love.
Self-love, the foundation of it all.
Exactly. It's about cultivating a healthy, positive relationship with yourself,
Okay.
which then allows you to connect with others in a more authentic, fulfilling way. It's about recognizing your own worth, treating yourself with kindness and compassion,
Right.
setting boundaries that protect your well-being.
It sounds like self-love is an ongoing practice, like a journey of getting to know ourselves and honoring who we are.
You got it. It's about accepting your strengths and your weaknesses, celebrating your accomplishments, forgiving yourself for your mistakes.
Mhm.
It's about prioritizing your needs, both physical and emotional, making choices that support your overall well-being.
So self-love isn't selfish. It's actually essential for living a happy and fulfilling life, both within ourselves and in our relationships.
Precisely. It's about filling your own cup so you can pour into others without depleting yourself.
I love that analogy. It's a beautiful way to think about self-care and its ripple effect on all our relationships.
Exactly. And speaking of relationships, let's delve into a topic that's often misunderstood, misrepresented: how individuals with autism experience and express love.
This is such an important topic, and I'm glad we're addressing it. There's so many misconceptions
Yes.
surrounding autism and how it affects relationships.
Exactly. And it's crucial to remember that individuals on the autism spectrum are just as capable of experiencing love, forming those meaningful connections as anyone else. They might express it differently, but that doesn't make it any less real or any less significant.
So what are some of the key things to understand about, how people with autism experience love? How can we be more sensitive, more supportive of their needs in relationships?
Well, one important factor is partner responsiveness. It's about being attuned to your partner's needs, both verbal and nonverbal, and responding in a way that makes them feel understood, supported.
So it's about really listening, paying attention to their cues, and adapting your communication style to meet their needs.
Precisely. And clear communication is crucial. Individuals with autism often prefer direct, straightforward language.
Okay.
They might not pick up on subtle hints or indirect communication styles. So it's important to be clear, explicit in your expressions of love and affection.
That makes sense. It's about,
Yeah.
Removing any ambiguity and ensuring that your message is received as intended.
Exactly. And another important aspect is respecting sensory needs.
Okay.
Individuals with autism often have heightened sensitivity to certain sights, sounds, textures, smells.
So it's about, being mindful of their environment, creating a space that feels safe and comfortable.
Yes, and it's about understanding that their sensory experiences might be different from yours, and that's okay. It's about adapting to their needs, finding ways to connect that work for both of you.
So it's about flexibility, empathy, a willingness to meet them where they are.
Exactly. And finally, it's crucial to accept and embrace their differences.
Yeah.
Individuals with autism might express love in ways that seem unconventional or unexpected,
Yeah.
but that doesn't make it any less valid or meaningful.
So it's about letting go of any preconceived notions about how love should look or be expressed and appreciating those unique ways that each individual shows affection.
Precisely. It's about celebrating neurodiversity and recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to love and relationships.
You know, it's fascinating. We've explored all these different forms of love, but we haven't really touched on the idea that love itself can be a journey of healing.
That's a great observation. Yeah. It makes me think about how we often hear about the importance of self-love for personal growth and overcoming challenges.
Yeah. What's the connection there?
Well, I think it's about recognizing that self-love is that foundation for emotional well-being.
Okay.
When we can accept ourselves fully, flaws and all, treat ourselves with kindness, compassion, it creates a space for inner strength and resilience.
So it's like building a safe and supportive haven within ourselves.
Yes.
So we can face, whatever life throws our way.
Mm.
And this sense of inner security can then, extend outwards to our relationships with others.
Exactly. When we feel good about ourselves, we're less likely to seek validation from external sources, which can lead to healthier, more balanced connections.
That makes a lot of sense. Practically speaking, what are some ways we can cultivate self-love as part of our healing journey?
Well, a big part of it is self-acceptance. It's about acknowledging both our strengths and weaknesses, our light and shadow sides, and embracing all of it. It's part of who we are.
So it's about letting go of that need to be perfect
Yes.
and instead embracing our imperfections, celebrating our unique individuality
Exactly.
rather than, striving for some unattainable ideal.
Exactly. And this ties into the practice of self-compassion. It's
Oh.
about treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a dear friend who's going through a difficult time. It's
Yeah.
about silencing that inner critic, replacing it with a voice of support and encouragement.
That's so important. I mean, we can be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
But we deserve the same, gentleness and care that we extend to others. How do we do that? How do we silence that inner critic?
Well, it takes practice, but
Yeah.
one powerful technique is to simply notice when that critical voice pops up, right?
Hmm.
And then gently challenge its validity. Ask yourself, would I say this to a friend? And if the answer is no, then why are you saying it to yourself?
Yeah.
Replace those harsh judgments with words of kindness, words of understanding.
It's about becoming aware of our self-talk, and choosing to be more compassionate,
Yes.
more supportive of ourselves. What else can we do to nurture self-love?
Well, another key aspect of self-love is setting healthy boundaries.
Okay.
It's about learning to say no when we need to. It's prioritizing our own well-being, protecting our energy from people or situations that drain us.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that it's okay to put ourselves first sometimes,
Yeah.
that our needs are just as valid as anyone else's.
I think setting boundaries can be especially challenging for people who are, used to putting others' needs before their own.
Yeah.
But it's so essential for creating a healthy, balanced life, isn't it?
Absolutely. Boundaries are all about creating that space where everyone feels respected and valued. And when we can set those boundaries with love and compassion, it fosters a sense of trust and understanding in our relationships.
It's amazing. This conversation has really expanded my understanding of what love can be.
Yeah.
It's not just one thing. It's a whole spectrum of emotion.
It truly is a fascinating and complex topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think the more we understand about those different facets of love, the better equipped we are to nurture those connections in our own lives.
Absolutely. And speaking of nurturing connections, I think it's important to acknowledge that love isn't always easy.
Right.
Relationships can be challenging, and sometimes, they even end.
Yeah, that's a very important point. It's unrealistic to expect that love will always be smooth sailing. There will be ups and downs, disagreements, times when we need to put in extra effort to maintain those bonds.
So how can we, navigate those challenges in a healthy way? What are some tips for keeping love alive even when things get tough?
Well, communication is key, as it is in any relationship. It's about being open and honest with each other, expressing your needs and feelings respectfully, and being willing to, listen to your partner's perspective, even if you don't always agree.
So it's about creating a safe space for dialogue where both partners feel heard, validated.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that compromise is essential. You're not always going to see eye to eye on everything, and that's okay. The key is to find ways to meet each other's needs without sacrificing your own values or well-being.
It's about finding that balance, that sweet spot where both partners feel respected.
Exactly.
Understood.
And sometimes, despite our best efforts, relationships reach a point where they're no longer serving either partner. And in those situations, it's important to remember that letting go can also be an act of love.
That's a powerful perspective. It's easy to see breakups as failures, but sometimes they're necessary for growth and healing,
Yeah.
both individually and as a couple.
Exactly. And sometimes letting go can create space for new love to enter our lives, love that might be even more fulfilling, more aligned with who we are at that moment.
So it's about trusting the journey, knowing that even when things end, there's always that potential for new beginnings,
Yes.
deeper connections.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up our conversation today, I'd like to leave our listeners with this thought. Love is a verb, not just a noun. It's an action, a choice that we make every day to nurture those connections that bring meaning, that bring joy to our lives.
That's a great reminder. Love it's not passive. It's something that we actively cultivate through our words, our actions, our choices.
Exactly. So go out there and love fiercely, love authentically, and love with all your heart.
And don't forget to subscribe to QuickSpeak English for more episodes on diverse topics that will boost your English fluency. We have vocabulary lists, quizzes, discussion questions, all on our website. The link is in the description below. And before you go, we'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned about love today that you'll take with you? Share your thoughts in the comments and keep practicing your English. Until next time.